2 games for Florida. She takes a first pitch strike from Kolziski as we get underway.
As always, another great recruiting class for Coach Walton. Team stacked as usual.
And he's not afraid to play younger players, but this is a more veteran lineup than last year. This is one of 4 seniors in the order as Falby takes down and away for ball 1. Falby not a power hitter. She is an on-base machine. Gets on at a .513 clip. She's in the top 35 in the country in batting average.
So her go-to, her bread and butter is her speed, but she does have 2 home runs on the year, so she does crank it every now and then.
Kolziski gets her to fly out to left field pretty comfortably for Annabella McLaren, and 1 up, 1 down for the Gators as their star freshman Taylor Shoemaker makes her way to the batter's box. Shoemaker, .385, 14 home runs. That's top 20 in the country. 57 RBI. That is 7th nationally for a true freshman, having an outrageous first collegiate season out of Fullerton, California. She takes a strike as Kolziski right around the plate in the early going.
Yeah, Caitlin's going to come in with, she's got a good curveball, a decent screw. She's been working on her drop ball. She will waste a high pitch, a rise, if you will. And she's been really working on her changeup this year as well. So she'll need that to work. There you see it. Draws it a little short, but she'll need to get that working in order to keep these Gator batters off balance.
Shoemaker hit 5 home runs in her first ever college series back in February. It was the National Player of the Week in her very first college weekend.
Where do you go from there?
Yeah, top prospect who has been as advertised. Kolziski hits the outside corner, and it's 1-2. Good nasty breaking ball there from Caitlin.
Good backdoor curve coming from the outside back over the plate. I imagine you'll see quite a few pitchers for the Hatters today. Coach Cousins has proven through this season that she is not afraid to change pitchers and change them often.
And this is a game where you'd like your arms to see a lineup of this caliber at some point as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think the only change to that philosophy is if you have somebody throwing extremely well. Maybe you give them a little bit longer go than you normally would.
Well, Kolziski off to a good start, goes to the changeup and strikes out Shoemaker. That's just the 15th time that Taylor Shoemaker has struck out all season.
What a big pitch for Kolziski. What a good help for her team. She can get that pitch working early. That can make all the difference for the Hatters.
Well, 2 all-SEC caliber players down. A couple more to go. Here's Corby Otis, senior, hitting .327. 486 OBP, which puts her, about middle of the pack for this order. First pitch is off the plate for ball 1.
Again, embarrassment of riches. But that's what the SEC is all about. That's what Florida softball is all about, going out and getting quality players. From 1 to 9, there's no relaxing.
Otis was a first-team All-American last year by most publications. A Louisville transfer who had a massive first season. It's this year just .327 with 10 extra base hits. Some of those players that have not been quite at the pure dominant level that you've come to expect from Florida, and has also seen a lot of pitches like this, or plate appearances like this out of the strike zone. She leads the team in walks. She and Jocelyn Erickson have been walked quite a bit this year, with teams preferring to face the bottom half of the Gator order. There's Kolziski putting one down the middle on 3-0.
Of course, you don't want to give Otis anything too big to hit, but you also don't want to have to face Erickson in this first inning if you can get away with not doing it, especially with somebody on.
Otis had a 5 RBI game with a walk-off grand slam against Arkansas over the weekend. He draws a walk here, and that'll put a runner aboard for the reigning SEC Player of the Year, catcher Jocelyn Erickson. Erickson, .336, 10 home runs, 38 runs batted in. This is my favorite stat. 32 walks, 6 strikeouts for Jocelyn Erickson, the lefty catcher.
And she's just phenomenal on both sides of the plate. She's a home run waiting to happen at the plate. She's such a remarkable receiver and works well with her pitchers, but also has a cannon back there. And coming from the left side. It's a nice, easy flick for her down to first.
She was the NFCA Player of the Year last year. Gold Glove winner behind the plate. 1-0 hammered foul up the first base line. For her career, 365, 25 homers in 2 years in Gainesville. Played her first season at Oklahoma, which was, I believe that was their final year in the Big 12. And she jumps into the SEC with the Sooners, just with a different team. 1-1 to Erickson. That's on the outside corner.
Nice backdoor curve there by Kulziski to hit that outside corner.
Well, after walking Otis and being a little bit careful with her, she's attacked Erickson here to get ahead 1-2.
And I'm not sure that her intention was to be careful with Otis. I think she just maybe got a little amped up off that strikeout on the changeup.
Hammock, a senior who will start some midweek games, typically comes out of the bullpen for Tim Walton. Hammock, a transfer from UNC Wilmington in her senior season. She is the tallest player on the roster at 6'2".
That's a lot of advantage. Not only do you have all that leverage out of your arms, but you figure if you're 6'2", your stride's going to be at least 6'2", so she's got to be striding out of the front of the circle, delivering that pitch from 30.
Yeah, her front foot's right about on the edge of it.
Yeah, so you're to an 8-foot circle from 43 feet. You're at 33 feet.
Foster gets under this one, but it'll get out of play. Addison also a terrific stolen base threat. 14 steals this year, now second on the team in extra base hits. Leads the team in walks. Here's the Florida defense. One of the best defensive teams in the country. Gold Gloves up the middle. Here's a line shot up the middle. And how about this? Stetson has the game's first hit as Addison Foster takes a 1-2 pitch up the middle.
Yeah, well done by Foster here. Gets all of this ball and sends it sharply up the middle up to Falby. Give the Hatters an early advantage. She gets that inside pitch, kind of inside outside, which is her MO. Sends it harmlessly up the middle. Find herself on first, and the Hatters are in business.
There's Cammie Epley, Stetson's do-it-all center fielder. Strike one here to Cammie. Adding it at 336. 28 RBI to lead the Hatters. And we'll see if Foster, who has not been caught this season, tests the arm of Erickson. A one pop foul over the screen, and Hammock quickly ahead 0-2. The big thing for Hammock is to throw strikes. She's only allowed 40 hits in 49 2/3 innings, but 38 walks. That is far too many for on a team of this caliber.
And I would guess that's why she's not a Friday, Saturday starter in their SEC series.
Yeah, she is really the number 4 pitcher on this staff. Freshman Caitlin Oxley has been brilliant. Of course, they have 2 of the top returning freshman arms from last year, Keegan Rothrock and Ava Brown. Rothrock, their ace, who was the SEC Freshman of the Year, has largely been on Saturdays lately. Here's a 2-2 to Hammock.
There goes Foster.
And Epley hits it in the air. Foster was running but goes back as Shoemaker makes the catch in right field on a high pop fly from Cammie Epley for the first out.
Not bad contact there by Epley, but out a little early, actually. Got a little loop and popped the ball up to medium depth in right field for an easy can of corn out there.
And we'll bring up Stetson's top freshman, Amber Chumley. That one off the glove of Hammock, and everybody's safe. Oh, Chumley hits one that might have had a chance to be 2, or at the very least would have been an easy out at first. It goes off the glove of Hammock, and it's an infield hit for Chumley.
Yeah, Chumley goes down and tops this one, and it has a lot of topspin as it comes up to Hammock. You see she jumps for it, but it tips right off the top of her glove, and fortunate hop for the Hatters there.
So Chumley aboard, 2 on 1 out. Here's Nadia English, who takes down and in for ball 1. English, the designated player today, 270 hitter, 2 home runs. second on the Hatters with 22 runs batted in. Here in an RBI spot, Stetson looking to take the lead early against the number 8 fearsome Florida Gators. And English ahead 2-0.
Yeah, and in reality, this is what Stetson needs to do, right? They need to come out and kind of deliver the first punch to kind of set the Gators back a little bit. Because obviously, the further the game goes along, the more confidence the Gators build, or the more their information builds, and the less of a chance you as an underdog have. So as the underdog, you got to come out and you got to give it your best shot early. And the Hatters here have the bases loaded after the walk to English.
Pitch walk from Hammock. Bases loaded, 1 out for Stetson. And this is a team that thrives doing this. Drawing walks. They walk about as much as they strike out as a team, going station to station, racking up base hits. For reference, Taylor Shoemaker in right field for Florida has hit more home runs than Stetson as a team has all season.
Yeah, definitely not in Stetson's makeup to be. We're not going to outslug. That's not our thing.
Here's Devin Weller, who has blossomed over the last few weeks after a slow start to her Hatter career. A grad transfer from D2 South Carolina Beaufort, who has took a little time to adjust to the level, but has really come along lately. He's got her on-base percentage up to .405, and now hitting in the middle of the order, playing first base. 1-1. Weller takes a strike on the outside corner.
The Gators have their middle infielders pinched inside the baseline, or really in the baseline. They'll creep a little bit as the pitch is delivered. Your corners are playing back with the 2 strikes, not honoring a bunt anymore.
The 1-2. Weller takes away 2 balls and 2 strikes. Hatters working the count against Hammock.
And that's really where the Hatters are at their best, right? At the beginning of the year, they were working a lot of counts, seeing a lot of pitches. They have a couple of players that I think that's not their best scenario, but for probably 7 of the 9 hitters, that's where they're best.
Nasty drop. And it's strike 3 as Weller goes down swinging.
Good comeback by Hammock there. Gets Weller on the outside, threw a couple of strikes out there, and then comes back with that drop ball on the outside. Probably a little off the plate, but I think Weller fouled a couple of those off, felt like she needed to go for that.
So here's Annabella McLaren. Taking inside, McLaren, really great batting eye. Draws a lot of walks.
Not afraid to wear a few.
No, certainly not. She has 9 hit by pitches, 3 times as many as any of her teammates. Takes upstairs, and she's ahead 2-0. And I mean, right now for the Gators, you're just imploring Kara Hammock to throw strikes here. McLaren's just a 208 hitter, hasn't had an extra base hit all season.
Got the best defense in the nation, arguably.
Walsh to lead off in the top of the second for Florida. Caitlin Kolziski, just 1 walk in a spotless first inning. Hatters loaded the bases in the bottom of the frame, could not cash in against Kara Hammock. There's a curveball for a strike to Walsh, 0-1. Kolziski attacking these hitters early and having success.
I think this is exactly what Caitlin needs to do. Mix up her pitches, play in the bottom of the zone, move it in and out. I think Florida's gathering information.
Well, Chumley did well to knock that down, but no play, and it'll be an infield hit for Walsh. First hit of the night for Florida.
Yeah, Walsh turns on this, hits it ticketed for the 5-6 hole. Chumley does a good job to knock this down, but is not able to glove it cleanly. Able to come up for a throw, but she does keep it in the infield to keep it to a single.
That'll bring up Mia Williams. Sophomore hitting .368 with 13 home runs. She has been a massive hit in the 6 hole in this order and is a thunderous bat to be having there. She's from not too far from here in Windermere. A little closer to home here in DeLand than she is in Gainesville, though not particularly far in either instance. They have officially ruled that a hit for Walsh. It took a little while for them to make up their mind on that, but it is a single for the first baseman for the Gators. Williams fouls one off, 1-1.
I think as a pitcher, as a Hatter in this situation, you're basically looking to control the Gator bats. You know, so You have Caitlin, who's going to get some weak fly balls, some ground balls.
And there is McLaren to make the catch on the run at her ankles. And Williams retired on the soft, short fly ball for the first out. And that's exactly what you're talking about. We've seen a little bit of kind of bloop, weak contact in the air from the Gators so far, not the thunderous hammers that we're so accustomed to seeing from them.
It'll take a few swings for the Gators to get accustomed to the velocity of Caitlin. It's probably a little less than what they saw this past weekend and or what they see against their teammates.
Here's Kenley Cahalan, who was an intra-SEC steal in the transfer portal from Tim Walton. She was All-SEC second team as the starting shortstop for Alabama last year. Coming a little bit east to Gainesville, showing bunt. Now pulling it back, the 1-0 is hit in the air, deep right center field. That's back, that is over the fence and gone. Kenley Cahalan with her 9th home run of the year. And the Alabama transfer puts the Gators on top 2-0. No doubter off the bat into the sun for Kenley Cahalan.
Yeah, well struck by Cahalan. She actually pulls this outside pitch, but you see Caitlin gets the ball up in the zone a little bit, and Kenley is allowed to let the bat head work for her and gets just enough to get it over the right center field fence.
So after a terrific first inning for Kolziski, all it takes is one. Florida batter to square one up. Cahalan with 9 home runs on the season now. That is only 5th on the team as Ava Brown takes a strike. Brown's still looking to get going with the bat a little bit. She's down to 235 as a two-way player. It's been a very effective pitcher for the Gators.
So as I was saying earlier, I mean, Kolziski's looking to make her living down in the zone. That one she got up in the zone, but the Gator hitters, they're all about scoring runs in the droves. So they're looking to bang it over the fence. The wind is blowing out here at Patricia Wilson Field this afternoon. So staying down on the ground, getting some ground balls, getting them to pop up the balls low in the zone is where it's at for the Hatters today.
That was the 72nd home run of the season for Florida in game 43. That ties them with Oklahoma for both the SEC lead and the number 3 spot in the country. Number 1, by the way, is Ohio State, who is way ahead of everybody else with 94 home runs on the season. This ball hit out towards deep left field. McLaren at the track, no chance. Ava Brown goes back-to-back with Cahalan. It's 3-0 Gators. And now they've passed the Sooners.
Well, you asked her to get her bat going. She got it going. Again, she just got something a little bit too much of the white. Able to barrel it up and send it out, and of course with the wind blowing out, it doesn't take much today. You see a nice easy swing, uncorks it, and it just flies.
That's the 4th home run of the year for Ava Brown. Back-to-back out of the yard for Florida. Now Riley Holtorf, the shortstop, the 9-hitter, hitting a casual .329. With a .943 OPS in the 9-hole. Here's the first pitch. It's a bunt. Here's Chumley with a bare hand flip, is wide of the bag. Going for second. Here's the throw from Napoli in right field. That bounces away. And it's a hit and an error for Holtorf. She's on second with one out in the top of the order coming around.
Yeah, Chumley was a little bit on her heels, especially after the 2 home runs. So she was a little late coming and getting this bunt. It was a beautiful bunt. She put about 6 feet out in front of third base. Chumley does come in hard and tries to throw on the run. It's an errant throw, and then we compounded that with the ball dribbling out into right field and almost threw it away again. McLaren was Johnny on the spot for the backup at second base. Holtorf just taking advantage of the positioning of the Hatters in that situation. Lays down that bunt to get herself on.
Hatters getting the whole team together here, and a good mound visit there from Amanda Chambers, the first-year pitching coach.
And of course, just Coach Chambers going out and let's remember what our mission is. Let's not get too despondent here. Let's not get too stressed out. let's control the controllables, right? Caitlin's got to control where she throws the pitch. The defense has to be ready for any and everything. You got to recognize that you got speed on second and speed at the plate.
Falby takes ball one. And talk about speed. Falby 32 stolen bases this season. She is 7th in the country in steals. Only Audrey Vandegrift at Alabama, with her 45 stolen bases, is ahead of Falby in the SEC. She's also the national leader. Two 2-0 to Falby with Holdorf on second after the bunt single and the E5. That's down and away, and Kolziski behind 3-0. First base open here, but Shoemaker lurking on deck. Florida threatening to make this a crooked inning. Already 3 home on home runs for Kenley Cahalan and Ava Brown. .3-0 to Falby, right down the middle.
I think Kolziski's drop ball's not where she wants it today. So
what's the difference between the first inning and what's happening now?
Well, I think one, you know, all of those batters from the first inning go back and talk about what they saw in the first inning, and Florida is a team that uses information very well.
Falby punched out 5-3 on the sac bunt, and over to third goes Holtorf. I'm not sure if Falby intended to be out on that play. I think she typically reaches.
There's always
like
a
that
chance.
Quite a bit.
You know, you it's kind of twofold. Goes in the book as a sacrifice, but I don't think Kendra ever intends to be thrown out anywhere.
It's kind of a nice little backstop. It doesn't hurt your batting average if you're out, and hey, you're probably going to get a hit.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's a good play by Chumley as Shoemaker takes ball one. Shoemaker struck out swinging in the first inning on a changeup. Haven't seen that off speed much more
since the first.
Since that strikeout. It was the only one she's thrown.
She threw one in the dirt earlier than that.
Right. Okay.
But you asked, the difference between the first and the second, and the backdoor curve. We haven't seen that as much in this inning, and the changeup. Everything was more low in the zone. Now it's starting to, maybe the excitement, holding on to the ball a little bit long, getting it up belt high.
2-0 is poked foul and off the top of the screen. Nice one-hand grab by Otis in the on-deck circle. Shoemaker's got the green light in any count. One of the top prospects in her class, and she has, if nothing, perhaps even over-delivered on expectations.
If there's such a thing as a Florida Gator. I think the expectations when you come in are high and they go up from there.
This is a team that is 7-5 in the SEC, in a league that now includes Texas and Oklahoma, a league that is more powerful than ever. It's been interesting to see perhaps the preeminent power in the Gators adjusting to that, the NIL era and all of that.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, the SEC has had great representation in the bracket at the end of the year. It'll be interesting to see if anybody's out or how many SEC teams are in this year.
This one ripped right to second. Sinaraki makes the play, and that retires the side. But the Gators get 3 on a couple of home runs. 4 hits, 1 error, 1 left. Cahalan and Brown go back-to-back. 3-0 Gators, middle of 2. Kara Hammock in the circle, danced out of trouble in the bottom of the first inning. Gave up a couple of hits and a walk, but got a strikeout and a ground out to evade a bases loaded jam. Now she'll face Anthony Sinaraki Napoli with a 3-run lead, courtesy of a couple of Gator home runs. There's ball 1 to Dylan Anthony, who's had a breakout senior year behind the dish for Stetson. 284, 402 on base percentage, 2 homers, 14 RBI. Anthony taps this one foul up the third baseline, 1-1.
Yeah, I imagine Hammock went in the dugout and thought about and talked about a couple adjustments she needed to make, mainly just staying in the strike zone and using this stellar defense that you have behind you. You know, the numbers for the Hatters are not boastful in terms of power. So use this wonderful defense that you have and just stay in the zone.
2-1 to Anthony. And she takes high, 3 balls and a strike. Hammock throws hard, and she's got that long stride, and it just seems to be a little bit of a challenge, for her to just hit those spots.
But again, with the defense that you have and the 3-run lead.
Anthony with a seeing eye single up the middle on 3-1, and for the second straight inning, the Hatters have a leadoff hit.
Anthony just fists this one right up the middle. She doesn't get a great piece on it. She just, I should say, fisted it. She got it really off the tip of the bat, but it gets enough of it to get it up past the shortstop into center field. Give the Hatters another base runner, another opportunity. The Hatters aren't just going to roll over and go away. That's a good sign. See Coach Cousins going out to put a pinch runner in for Anthony.
It'll be Olivia Tybal, Stetson's top pinch running option. Sinaraki at the plate. Madeline, 270, 17 out of 63. She has started just over half of Stetson's games this season. First pitch bunt pops off the glove of Erickson, and Tybal's able to take second.
Fortunate for the Hatters there that Erickson got crossed up a little bit there.
A rare pass ball from Jocelyn Erickson. I believe that's how they'll score that.
The Gator Brain Trust over there is asking whether it tipped off the bat first.
I certainly didn't hear a ping. Didn't look like it, but see if we can take another look.
Certainly would be uncharacteristic of Erickson in this one unless she got crossed up. You see she's moving to the outside part of the plate. The pitch comes back in, and it does look like it missed the bat altogether.
They've scored at a wild pitch.
But it's having been a catcher, it's you have a pitcher that's throwing with this velocity. You're looking for low and out, and they throw high and in. That's a big crossover. The timing is different.
See many lefty catchers?
I've seen quite a few more recently. When I was growing up and playing, not at all. But we here at Stetson, we had Jessica Griffith. This is a great left-handed catcher. I think there's really only one huge disadvantage, and that's a tag at the plate.
Right.
Where you have to come across your body to make that tag. But, for throws to first, it's better. For throws to second, it's the same. You don't often throw to third.
Sinaraki's worked a full count. The 2-2, or the 1-2 looked like strike 3. Sinaraki got it called for a ball. Now the payoff pitch, and she hits it right back to Hammock. It will move the runner. Tybal goes to third. Sinaraki down 1-3 for the first out.
And we'll come back right at the feet of Hammock. She does a good job to corral it. She does not check the runner, and that allows Tybal to easily make it to third.
So a base hit, a wild pitch, and a ground out. Hatters have a runner on third with 1 out. Florida going to bring their infield in a bit as Giannopoli steps to the plate. And Napoli hits one on the ground, right side. The throw coming home, and Tybal slides in. Doesn't matter. It's a foul ball. Whole thing is totally wiped off the board. We were about to see one of those tags at the plate.
I was blinded.
From Erickson.
Yeah, I was blinded at first from the umpire. Didn't see him with his hands up, and I thought, Gia was stopping to give herself up, and they opted to go to the plate, but Gia didn't run. I was a little confused at first.
That ball must have hit foul before it crossed into the field of play, because it was fair when
should not unless it bounced off of Gia. It shouldn't matter. It's where the ball is when it's fielded. It can be foul all the way till it crosses the baseline.
That one popped up, won't be deep enough, as Williams makes the catch at second, and a big second out for Hammock. That'll bring up the torrid, hot Addison Foster, who is on a 22-game on-base streak after her leadoff single in the first inning.
What a turnaround, right? Tale of 2 seasons in just one. Credit the Hatter Brain Trust for sticking with their gut
At this point, it's almost like a 3 or 4 week slump followed by the real Addison is what
Amen.
has happened here.
Amen.
She has turned what looked like a disappointing follow-up from a rookie year into a breakout. Takes inside, 2-0. And even the full softball season is such a small sample in a sport with, just like baseball, so many random bounces, and can take a huge number of games to really suss those things out. 2-0. Foster takes up and in. She's ahead 3 balls, no strikes.
But kudos to the Hatter coaching staff for sticking with her and knowing what she had. A lot of confidence in her. They kept her up there. And she has made it pay off for the Hatters in that leadoff spot.
You're right. They never dropped her in the order. No one would have blamed Shelly Cousins for, say, putting Napoli up there and maybe dropping Foster to the 5 or 6 spot, but they stuck with her, and she's turned into maybe their best player this year. This one slashed foul up the left field line, 3-2. Foster trying to bring home the Hatters' first run after the Gators hit a couple of signature Gator homers in the top of the inning.
Would be a huge confidence boost and step up. The Hatters can plate one here, and it's only 1. You'd still be down by 2, but to plate 1, it would be a huge confidence boost.
And a diving stop, little bouncing throw not in time from Williams, and the Hatters do bring home the run. An RBI single for Addison Foster. It's 3-1.
Yeah, Addison turns on this and hits it sharply in the 3-4 hole. Williams does a great job to lay out and hold this in the infield. Was unable to get to her feet and get enough on this throw to get it to first in time. And of course, Tybell's able to score easily from third. So the Hatters are on the board.
And we'll see what Cammie Epley can do as Stetson gets one. Foster running on the first pitch. Erickson throw from her knees on the money side, retired. Jocelyn Erickson with a sidewinder picks off Erickson and Walsh. Hatters got one back after Florida put up a 3 spot at the top of the second. Otis walked her first time, her team leading 36th walk of the season. Big open stance for the senior, and that one airmailed for ball 1.
Not a way to waste it, Caitlin.
If you're gonna miss.
You got to keep them shaking somehow.
Kolziski always out there with a smile. She was,
always. What a great attitude.
Amused by it. 1-0 to Otis. That one bounces well short. So 1 miss well high, 1 miss well low.
We're keeping them guessing here, Evan. I think Caitlin's just gripping it a little too tight.
Well, when people say Corby Otis hasn't had much to hit this year, they weren't kidding. 2-0 ripped into left field for a base hit. Well, there's one that she jumps on a 2-0 count. And Otis has a leadoff single, 5th hit for the Gators tonight.
That's a loud single there. She barreled that one up, sent it sharply through that 5-6 hole. Addison flew out like Superman, but had no chance. You see that's just smoked into left.
So here comes Erickson, who blooped a soft liner to first her first time. Threw out Addison Foster, who had been 14 for 14 trying to steal bases this year to end the bottom of the second.
Change up there by Caitlin, just missed on the outside. Keep mixing that in. Back with that backdoor change. Same location, different look, different speed.
Erickson has allowed a grand total of 8 stolen bases this season, with 6 caught stealing. So it's just, people just don't run on her, period.
Yeah,
more than anything else.
For good reason. This ball 2 missed somewhere.
So it's 2-1 to the reigning National Player of the Year. She hits this in the air to pretty deep center field. Epley going back to the wall. It's off the scoreboard and gone. A line drive home run for Jocelyn Erickson, her 11th of the year, and it's 5-1 Gators. And this is how they do it. All 5 of their runs coming on the long ball.
Yeah, Jocelyn parks this one up, hits the scoreboard, but she doesn't even get it all. She hits the bottom half of this ball. She doesn't even hit the center, and she just is strong enough, gets a big enough piece, obviously, to send it out of the park. But you could tell off the bat, that was not her full power.
The wind is cooperating.
The wind is cooperating.
For the long ball tonight as well, but you're right. And I mean, that thing, even with her getting under it, had some real exit velocity on it. And it looks like Stetson is going to make a pitching change after the home run by Kolziski. And Caitlin Mullen, the sophomore left-hander, is going to relieve Kolziski here. We'll let Mullen warm up for a minute, come right back to DeLand.
Combo meal changed the game at BK.
With so many options, I play my way.
Fries are my say, no compromise.
Winning big time, cause it's free to swap fries.
BK, have it your way.
Excuse me, play you for those all.
Coaches Cousins and Chambers gets a first pitch strike over to Reagan Walsh. Caitlin, go ahead, Vanessa.
Always a little bit of a learning curve when you come into college, both offensively and defensively. All the things that worked on not only the high school circuit, but the things that were even worked on the travel ball circuit don't always pan out the same on the college level. The scouting is so much better. The hitters are so much better. You just have to kind of keep reinventing yourself every year. But I think, you see pretty much every freshman, even the Florida pitchers last year that came in as they came in as freshmen, improved significantly from the beginning of the year to the end of the year because you have to, or you sit. You have to, your location has to get better, your spin has to get better, your situational pitching has to get better. It's just what you have to do to survive on the college level.
3-1 here to Reagan Walsh. Bats with the bases clear after the Erickson homer. She taps this one foul towards the Florida dugout. 3-2.
From Caitlin to Caitlin, we're going from right to left. So showing the Gators just a little bit different look here. Taller pitcher, different side of the body. She still works mostly east-west with a change.
3-2 is hammered into right field on a line right to Giannopoli, who read it well off the bat. And a loud out for Reagan Walsh, one away.
Well hit by Walsh here. She gets an outside pitch. I think it's more of a screwball by Mullen, but it kind of sits on the plate. Walsh covers that and some, barrels that up and sends a line drive right out to Napoli.
So here's Williams, who popped to shallow left her first time. She takes a changeup just off the plate. Eric Salgado behind the dish tonight has had a pretty tight strike zone.
Yeah, he has not wavered much from the middle of the plate.
Williams second on the Gators in homers behind Shoemaker.
I feel like both pitching staffs have had pitches that, at least from our vantage point, look like they could be argued as strikes that have been called balls.
Thought this was amazing. It was in the notes for the series against Arkansas for Florida. 15 of their 16 runs, as this one's blooped out into shallow center. That'll land for a base hit for Williams. 15 of their 16 runs were scored on homers, and now all 5 tonight. So 20 of their last 21 runs have trotted in.
So get them on and bang them on. No need to go for the single or the double when you have runners on. Just hit it over the fence.
Yeah, the program record is 124. They're only 50 away, and they've still got another, they hope, 2+ months to go.
Yeah,
pretty good chance they break that.
They'll get triple digits for sure. If their bats stay hot, top of that order, just getting on, and of course, that middle of the order is just smoking. Ball just comes off so well off their bats.
Cahalan hit the first one of the evening, a 2-run shot in the second. Takes this one foul, now facing the lefty, and it's 1-1. Williams on first with 1 out. Florida leading 5-1. A 2-run homer for Erickson here in the 3rd inning to stake them out to a 4-run lead.
And of course, we talk about the players that are in the lineup and their home run prowess. You have people sitting in that dugout over there that can do the same thing. Pinch hitting situations and/or when they get their opportunity, they're capable of hitting it over the fence as well.
Florida goes right back into the SEC grinder this weekend, going to Oxford, Mississippi. Face number 19, Ole Miss for 3. That one sails away from Mullen, and the wild pitch allows Williams to take second.
Yeah, that one got stuck on her fingers a little bit.
They've got Alabama at home the week after. Alabama moving up to number 22 this week.
Yeah, they had a good weekend.
And then they go to LSU, currently ranked 6th, the week after. There's ball 4. It's
just never really a weekend off.
No, there's not.
SEC.
The entire, I mean, look, you look at the top 11, 8 of those teams are SEC teams. Florida's actually the 6th ranked SEC team right now. Texas and Oklahoma, the newcomers, are the top 2. And you add those 2 programs to this league.
So you're 8th in the country, but you're 6th in your conference.
Exactly.
What does that tell you?
You got A&M, Tennessee, and LSU also ahead of Florida. Only Oregon and UCLA, bizarrely Big Ten programs, are ahead of Florida outside the SEC. It's a strange world we're living in. There is the top 10. You got Florida State out of the ACC, and then another SEC team that just took 2 out of 3 in Gainesville last weekend. Arkansas has moved up into the top 10. Brown takes outside. Brown hit a solo shot in the 2nd inning. We got 2 on and 1 out here in the 3rd. Mullen trying to locate after walking Cahalan. She's had at least 2 balls on each of her first 3 hitters.
So your remark at the SEC prowess currently, that used to be all Pac-12. That was they didn't even play a conference tournament because why?
You just hurt each other, right?
Yeah, why are you playing a conference tournament? Use that weekend to rest up, and because everybody's making it. Why even beat yourself up collectively?
Hatters got to Kara Hammock for a run in the bottom of the 2nd. She's got a cozy lead, though, as she faces 2, 3, and 4 in the Hatter order. Epley was up for 1 pitch in the 2nd inning before Jocelyn Erickson threw out Addison Foster trying to take second. Epley flew to right field her first time. Hammock has allowed 4 hits and a walk with 1 strikeout and the 1 run across through 2 innings. 3 home runs from the Gators have given them a 5-1 lead here. There's a little dribbler foul. In fact, as it stands, this is just the 2nd to last game that Florida will play against an unranked team this season until a potential NCAA regional. Their only other non-SEC game left is against South Florida, who is 38th in the RPI, not all that far out of the top 25, and a team that faced Florida a little bit earlier this year. There's a little grounder towards first, and Walsh taps the bag for the first out.
But arguably, that's why you go to Florida, right? Just to play that schedule.
Oh yeah, of course.
To be in the washing machine every weekend, game after game.
Yeah, this is what they've got. We mentioned the next 2 weeks are actually lighter. That's the sort of the bottom of the SEC, and it's still 2 very good programs in Ole Miss and Alabama. And then that final couple of weekends at LSU, and then home against Oklahoma. The last 2 weekends before the SEC tournament, which is at UGA this year in Athens. 1-0 to Amber Chumley at an infield hitter first time. This one deep to left field. That is getting out into the bleachers. Amber Chumley takes Hammock deep for her 3rd home run of the season. And the Hatter rookie gives Stetson a spark. It's 5-2.
Yeah, Chumley does a great job here, and of course she's been one of the bright spots for the Hatters all year. Had a little bit of an injury for a while, and is really just getting back to full speed. But she takes this outside pitch. Again, Hammock gets hurt by something that Kulziski got hurt by, leaving that ball up in the zone. The wind is blowing out. The bat head helps it right out and out of the park.
Oh, a great moment for Amber Chumley, who is pushing her batting average up near 300 with that home run, now at 298. And there's a hit by pitch as Hammock plunks Nadia English, and the Hatters have a base runner here, down just 3 runs in the bottom of the 3rd. For Stetson, just the 13th home run they've hit all year.
Yeah, it's definitely
Chumley is now the team leader.
It's definitely few and far between, but you know, what a feather to put in your cap as I hit a home run versus the Florida Gators.
Absolutely, and that one gets to the backstop. A wild pitch by Hammock, and English goes down to second.
You know, only the astute fan is going to ask you which pitcher was throwing.
Memory for Amber Chumley right there, as she has been, like you said, she had the little ankle injury that slowed her up, but still having a terrific rookie year. Looks like a cornerstone for this program. Weller taps one foul up the left side, 1-1. Devin struck out with the bases loaded her first time.
We were talking about the NIL and the transfer portal earlier. That's one of those things you start worrying about when a kid has a really good season for you as a mid-level program. What does that look like long term? You know, do they stay or do they get bought?
Right. Yeah, you can't really say someone's a 4-year cornerstone at this point, because it's more likely that they're a 1 or 2 year cornerstone if they're that impressive.
I mean, I'm still old school. I still think you pick a school for the school. You obviously you want to play at that program, but you're also banking on the education and the camaraderie and the memories you're going to make there. But that's long gone. Weller
moves the runner over, 1-3 on the putout. Well, and I understand it from the player's perspective, too. I mean, this is not a sport with a robust professional apparatus where if you are a player like a Jocelyn Erickson, just to name one of any Florida player that this could really apply to, this might be your chance to make a little money. It's something that it was a God-given gift to you.
I do not blame the players at all. I think especially in a women's sport, you have to make money when you can. Because like you said, there's the pro system that's in place is not a lucrative living for a human being at this point. It's a stipend at best. You know, it's prestige, but it's not a living. So I think, in college they got to take what they can get. If they transfer and get a little money in their pocket, certainly can't blame them.
Yeah, it's such a well-followed sport. I mean, the ratings speak for themselves. Community around it is so vibrant. And, of course, ends up producing revenue. It's good for the players to get a piece of that.
I just think at some point they're going to have to regulate.
Oh, for sure.
All of that. And or we're just not going to call it college sports anymore. It's just minor league systems, and it's business.
Claren, who bounced to the circle her first time and worked a 3-0 count, took strike one. Here's a 3-1 pitch. And that's on the corner as well, and now the count is full. English at third. If they can bring her in, cut this to 2.
Hatters not going away, not being intimidated.
Maybe just a little bit early there against that one foul.
I can guarantee you there's nobody on the field out there that wants it more than A.B. McLaren. She wears her heart on the sleeve every day, every play, every swing.
Payoff pitch to McLaren. And another one just foul. Little less early, but still early.
Making adjustments.
On that one.
Making adjustments. I think, she's been, most of the Hatter hitters have been ahead. I think they, in their scout and in their preparation, they probably turned the machines up. They've moved the pitcher closer. They've been geared up for.
And McLaren gets plunked on the 3-2. Second hit by pitch of the inning, and Annabella, she doesn't mind it, but I think that one probably hurt more than most, and she is wearing that one on her left arm. Ooh.
This one she got,
Under the guard, right on the forearm.
yeah, on the forearm and the kind of the bony part of the forearm. So out of all the guards you wear these days, the face mask, the chin guard, the elbow guard,
always
the leg
seems to find a way
guard,
under him, doesn't it?
Seems to always find a spot.
So here's Anthony, who singled up the middle her first time, and here comes Tim Walton to talk with Hammock. Walton picked up his 1,000th win at Florida last month.
Impressive.
An absolute legend at that university.
Impressive. It's, you know, since Tim Walton was hired, I mean, they've had a couple of years here and there where it's been disappointing by the Florida Gator standard. But he has really done amazing things with the recruiting, with the facilities upgrades, with you know, just the coaching of the game, the teaching of the game. All his players seem to really revel in his programs.
Back-to-back national champions in 2014, 2015.
He has staff that changes occasionally, and of course, that's a natural matriculation. You bring these coaches in, you grow them as much as you do players, and then they go out and they become head coaches and move up the ladder on their own, so you bring other people in, but everybody seems to be very loyal to the Gator program. Hence good things happening from them year after year.
8 SEC regular season titles, 5 Women's College World Series Finals appearances, the 2 championships. Runs here in the 3rd inning into land is Stetson with a 4 spot, including 2 home runs. A 3-run shot by Dylan Anthony ties the game. This is a team that has hit 1/6 of their home run total on the season in this inning.
Yeah, what a amazing turn of events if you're a Hatter fan. I mean, Hatters are not known this season for home runs, and here we go. The home run parade has rubbed off from the Gators to the Hatters.
And this pitch is hit down the line. That's going to go down in the corner for Sinaraki. She's rounding second, will stop there as the throw comes in from Shoemaker. It's a 2-out double for Sinaraki, and the Hatters have the go-ahead run in scoring position for Giannopoli.
Welcome to the game. She pitches a nice drop ball inside half. Sinaraki just drops her barrel and kind of just pokes it out there. Not even really a full swing, does just what she has to do, is able to rattle down in the corner and get a stand-up double out of it.
Napoli takes ball 1 outside. Gia popped to second her first time. Miller showed up twice over the weekend against Arkansas. The Razorbacks tagged her for 3 runs in a 1/3 of an inning in the Sunday game after she'd pitched well in the Saturday game. Her ERA before the Sunday game against Arkansas was 1.27. Through 2 perfect games last year, a 5-inning one against Bethune-Cookman and a 6-inning against Lafayette. No Florida freshman had ever thrown a perfect game
There are
before Miller.
college pitchers that throw their entire career and don't throw a perfect game, much less to throw 2 in 1 year, and that being your freshman year.
And to still be fifth on the depth chart.
Yeah.
It's a bounty of riches for Tim Walton. Florida, though, suddenly in a tight ball game with Stetson. The Hatters have showed out. Here's a shot to third, but fielded comfortably. Kaylin Mullen, who came into this game at 5-1, suddenly finds herself in a tight one. Stetson with a 4 spot in the bottom of the 3rd, including 2 home runs, as the Hatters have tied up the Florida Gators. Top of the 4th, number 8 Florida reeling from a series loss at home to Arkansas this past weekend, and now locked in a tight one with a team they are supposed to run rule. So this pitch comes upstairs, and Riley Holtorf is ahead 2-0. Holtorf reached on a bunt single her first time up.
We kind of had the first inning was scoreless for both teams, and then the Gators got the first punch in. The Hatters answered back. Gators punched again. The Hatters answered back again. That's a great spectator ball game.
Holtorf ahead in the count, 3-0. Mullen trying to avoid a leadoff walk here. and will not. 4-pitch walk to start the 4th.
Can't afford to give them extra bases at this point on either side, but certainly for the Hatters to keep it competitive, they've got to get outs when they can get outs, and none of these batters are easy batters, but Holtorf is at least less threatening as a power hitter. You get the outs when you can and stop putting fast runners on the base.
Mullen misses again, this time to Falby, who has flown out and sacrificed 0 for 1.
Got a big hole in the right side of the infield as you got Sinaraki playing for the steal.
Falby shows bunt, takes outside, and Mullen has missed with 6 in a row. And does Shelly Cousins think about a switch sooner than later here if Mullen can't command the pitch as the team gets together?
We've definitely got action in the bullpen down there, so I don't imagine the hook will be too long. But this is just a matter of Mullen throwing strikes. I mean, that's what you get paid to do, right? You got to go out there and can't be too cute. Just keep it on the lower half of the zone and let your defense eat.
So they have a Braswell coming back into the dugout from the bullpen right there.
Certainly can't afford to walk the number 9 and 1 batter and
you're
bring up 2, 3, 4.
Asking for it at that point.
I mean, talk about putting up crooked numbers in a hurry. There's nothing good's going to come from that.
3-0 to Falby. Mullen nibbling a little bit. And this has been a tight zone from home plate umpire Salgado tonight. There's strike 1. Falby taking all the way. Kendra has walked 18 times this season and is 5th on the Gator roster. It would lead Stetson for what it's worth, and the Hatters do take their walks. 3-1 pitch. That's down the middle as well.
Yeah, the first one, I think she had a little bit of a curveball in the outside half. That one, I'm not sure. That one just looked big for Falby to take. Working that count, working that pitcher.
3-2 to the Gold Glover. He is high, ball 4. They're going to peel down, but she did not swing, says John Schaefer at third. And so, at first, pardon me. So that puts 2 on with nobody out. Back-to-back walks for Shoemaker. And Mullen looks like he's going to get Shoemaker here. Shoemaker went 0 for 2 against Caitlin Kolziski, a strikeout and a ground out to second.
Yeah, she hit a sharp ground ball on that ground ball to second. The first one she went down on the change. I think that's where you have to hang your hat as a Hatter pitch caller, is keeping her off balance with that off-speed pitch. Make her do all the work if she's going to get it. Of course, you got speed on first and second. Just doesn't get much easier as you go down the batting order either. The power numbers go up, the batting averages go up. So we'll look to see if Caitlin Mullen here can work some miracles, use her teammates, and manufacture some outs without giving up a run.
Mullen, 12 pitches, just 2 strikes here in this inning. 2-0 is over the middle. A little surprised to see Shoemaker take that one. She swung on a 2-0 earlier.
And of course, knowing Coach Walton and his hitting philosophy, they all go up with a pitch in mind. Like, they have their pitch. So until they're even in the count or behind in the count, they're looking for that pitch, which hence pays off in a lot of home runs, a lot of extra base hits. They have something in mind. They're teed up and waiting for that. So as long as they're ahead in the count, they can sit and wait for that.
Shoemaker takes ball 4, and Mullen has walked the bases loaded for Corbiotis. And that's going to be it for Caitlin Mullen after it. Disappointing top of the 4th. Ava Braswell, warmed up and ready to go, will come on. Good luck as Braswell goes into a 5-5 game, bases loaded, nobody out. bright spot on this season for Stetson, a freshman who has pitched really well as you take a look at the numbers. 2.73 ERA in 66 2/3 innings. She's given Stetson effective innings at length. This is not going to be one of the easier spots in her career. 5-5 game with number 8 Florida. Bases loaded, nobody out after Caitlin Mullen walked them full to start the fourth, and she's got the top 2 hitters on this Florida team in Corby Otis and Jocelyn Erickson. I mean, I can't say that definitively. 2 of the top hitters, including the Erickson, the National Player of the Year, due up here in the fourth. Otis laced a single, scored her last time up. She walked back in the first. First pitch outside from Braswell.
So as Braswell, you come into a bases loaded with the heart of the order up. At this point, you're trying to control. Let's do what we can do to minimize the opportunities for the Gators, and of course that's going to include throwing strikes, which we're not doing currently.
2-0 to Otis, and the last thing you want to see is Braswell, who's done a pretty good job, especially for a freshman, of limiting free passes to walk in the go-ahead run here. 2-0 catches the inside corner.
Of course, your ideal scenario here is to work around the knees, get some called strikes down there, and then be able to work off of that with a drop or curve off the plate, and of course the changeup to get them out in front and for those weak dry balls. There you see the changeup in there.
Yeah, both she and Haley Arnold, who we haven't seen tonight, 2 rookies who have flashed very impressive changeups on this Hatter pitching staff this year.
Yeah, very promising young throwers for the Hatter staff.
2-2, that's hit towards short, could be 2. No, Foster just goes the short way and gets none. Now at second, run trying to come in, gets around the tag. It's 7-5 Gators. Foster did not step on second, just threw to first, didn't get the out, and then Falby sneaks through the back door.
Yeah, Otis tries to pull this pitch and kind of gets the effect of a slap. She gets that chopper up the middle. Foster thinks about going to second, doesn't have the time with the speedy Otis going to first. And the Hatters come up with nothing. We get this throw back to the plate.
What a job by Falby to get around the tag.
Dylan just reaches out for her. Instead of staying at the plate where she was, she reaches out and leaves home, and that leaves the back door open for Falby.
How
what
about
a great
that?
Slide.
Phenomenal play by Falby, and Florida back in the lead, and they're just going to let Otis take second with Shoemaker on third and Erickson at the plate. 7-5 Gators. Erickson, who homered her last time, her 11th of the year at the plate, and that's way up and over the backstop. It comes back to Anthony and keeps the runners where they were. Now it's 1-1 to Jocelyn Erickson. Well, the Hatters falling apart a little bit after that
little bad news bears action.
That fantastic bottom of the third.
And there again, you know, the speed of the Gator team is.
And now one hits Chumley, and what could have been 2 outs is instead a run-scoring 2-base error. It's 8-5 Gators, and they've got 2 more in scoring position with nobody out.
So this one just a chopper to the left side, just eats Chumley up. She gets that short hop at the end that takes a high hop, kicks up off the heel of her glove, and of course past Addison Foster. AB, instead of controlling second, throws all the way home, which allows the batter runner, Erickson, to advance all the way to second base to put the Gators back in scoring position again.
Now, Florida has quickly rebuilt their lead, and now the Hatters will have a mound conference. Talk it over as Reagan Walsh gets ready to come up. Gators up 8-5 in the top of the fourth, and Chumley committing the second of her 2 errors today. Had a throwing error back in the second inning.
And that one's a hot shot. You know, you can't nick her too much for that. I think it's important for the Hatters to realize that the Gators not only have power, but they have speed, especially at the top of that order. And you have to honor that You can't take extra time making the decision. You have to have that internal clock so you know when you get the ball where's the play. So Addison had to know, I have to immediately charge this and go to first, or I have to sell out to get that out at second. You can't get caught in between. So Braswell's come in and she hasn't done a bad job. She got the ground ball up to Foster, and then she got the ground ball over to Chumley.
You can make a case she should have been out of the inning.
And we just haven't made, or the Hatters haven't made plays behind her.
Walsh singled on a ground ball in the second. She hit her second ball much harder. A screaming line drive right at Giannopoli.
Funny how the game evens you out like that, isn't it? You get the hits you don't deserve, and then when you really square the ball up and you feel like you deserve a hit, you've done everything right, it just goes right at somebody and you don't get a hit. That's why you get an average.
Otis on third, Erickson on second. 3 already home here in the fourth for the Gators, looking for more. Braswell's 2-0 is down the middle. All 3 of those runs charged to Mullen. Her final line, an inning pitched, 3 runs on 1 hit and 4 walks. Braswell trying to limit the damage here. 2-1 is stroked out towards pretty deep center field. That's a line drive shot over the fence. A 3-run home run for Reagan Walsh, and Florida has put up 6 in the top of the fourth. What a response from the Gators after coughing up the lead in the previous inning. 12th of the year for Walsh.
This is a drop ball not in a bad spot. Unfortunately, the Gator hitters are just uncorking on the ball at this point. You know, what do they have to lose? They've scored runs on even just ground balls, so they're just nice and relaxed. GA is able to go down and get the barrel down, lift this up, and easily parks this out of center field.
Walsh now 45 runs batted in. That puts her second on the team behind Shoemaker. All 6 Gators that have come to bat here in the fourth have scored. Here's a pitch down to Williams for ball 1. Williams 1 out of 2, slashed a single against Mulliner last time. Eight of the 11 runs now for Florida on the long ball. That one misses inside, 2-0. So Florida, after a real scare, has answered right back with authority. Big rip and a miss by Williams, 2-1.
Williams going to get her home run on that swing.
Yes, that's what she was looking for, certainly. Two-1. That one poked out towards right field. That'll land for a base hit in front of Napoli. And Florida will get the 8th run to the plate here with nobody out in the fourth inning, an inning that started with the game tied. It is Cahalan who homered her first time up and then walked against Mullen. Cahalan with her 9th home run of the year, a 2-run shot back in the second inning. First pitch by Braswell finds the outside corner.
Good spot by Braswell there. I mean, you got to find something that works, right? And of course, I'm sure the pitch caller in the dugout is trying to figure that out. What does my pitcher throw? What does she throw well? I have to consider her strengths so I can get strikes, but you also have to consider the scouting report and what the hitters are doing. And it's, you know, their numbers are their numbers for a reason. You know, they do this not only against non-conference opponents, but they do this in conference.
This is the 5th time this year that Florida has hit 4 home runs in a game. Here's a double play ball to second. They don't get the out at second base. Everybody's safe. It'll be a fielder's choice for Cahalan and nobody out.
Yeah, again, you know, internal clock. You got to know what the speed of the runner. You got to know how much time. You see Sinaraki gets in front of the ball but sits and waits and does a nice little underhand pitch. But Williams had a big lead and was running on contact as the ball was going down. So either you have to account for your positioning and the timing, or you have to go get the sure out.
Here's Brown, who homered back in the second on a 1-1 pitch that was a back-to-back shot with Cahalan. Then she hit into a double play in the third. Florida has not hit 5 homers in a game this year. Their 4 were against Michigan on opening weekend, and against they did it 3 times in the span of a week against Troy, Houston, and then most impressively in that 12-4 win at Texas A&M, a series they probably should have swept. They dropped the first game where they had a lead and then beat the Aggies twice over the weekend.
Brown having a little problem with her wristband there. She wanted to put it in her pocket, but couldn't manage to get in there, so she just put it on her wrist.
Won't cooperate. 2-1 now to Ava Brown.
It's always a little awkward. You're trying to do something subtly, and then all attention is brought to it.
Still nobody out here in the top of the 4th. This is the 9th batter of the inning for Florida. That one is inside, and a good job by Anthony there to hold the runners. It's 3-1.
One of the few times in the season you're going to have an Ava versus an Ava.
That's a good point. Ava B versus Ava B, even. Time called.
Ava Brown being a pitcher herself. It's all kinds of...
I wonder if Tim Walton noticed the wrist thing with Ava Brown. Whatever it was, they've got it sorted.
She did take the wristband off and gave it to him. He put it in the dugout.
There you go. That's what makes a 1,000-win coach. 3-1. And Brown pops it up foul, out of play, out towards the street. Florida with really good speed on the base pass with Williams and Cahalan. Let's see if they send the runners on 3-2. Payoff pitch, they don't go, and it's ball 4. Well, that'll load the bases for Holtorf, who walked to lead off this inning many moons ago. And now gets another shot here as the 10th batter up with nobody out here in the top of the 4th inning.
She has a second chance to make the first out of the inning.
Yes.
In 1 inning.
And they're going to run for Brown. Kylie Shaw, freshman, will head on over to first and run for Ava Brown. So it's Williams on third, Cahalan on second, and Shaw at first, with Holtorf at the plate for the second time in this 4th inning. The big blow, a 3-run homer from Reagan Walsh. Now the base is loaded again on a base hit, a fielder's choice, and a walk. First pitch from Braswell is a strike.
You'll see the Hatter defense. The corners are at regular depth. The infielders are kind of at medium, but with the speed of so ideally you're looking 4 and something else, but it make sure of 1. Of course, Holtorf has a whole different idea. She's thinking granny right here.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we know this team. They're thinking one thing when they get up there.
We get them on, let's make it pay out. And so she's pulling that slot machine handle, waiting for the payout.
Big swing and a miss, and Braswell gets a huge strikeout, 1 away.
Good job by Braswell there. She stays down in the zone. We talked about it. She needs to stay down in the zone. She stays bottom half, a little bit of a drop. Holtorf just pulled her head trying to go for that granny and kind of worked against herself. Big first out for the Hatters.
Here's Falby, who has now officially reached base in every game this season after walking in the 4th. 45 straight games for Falby. Going back to last year's Women's College World Series.
That is just amazing.
Still has not gotten a hit tonight.
But you got to think at some point.
Yeah, she's hit safely in 9 straight. 39 of 42 this year for Kendra.
I would not bet against her getting a hit in this game.
Yeah,
however,
no, I think we're still within that territory.
40 to 50 games, there had to be at least one game where you were just off, right? How do you still manage to help your team by getting on base and using your speed, which, speed doesn't take a day off unless it's injured.
And Falby, one of the fastest players in college softball. Bases loaded, it's 3-0. And Falby has drawn an RBI walk on 4 pitches from Braswell. And that'll bring Shoemaker to the plate with the 8th run on 3rd. But Florida, I think, are thinking a much more crooked number. Here with still just 1 out in the 4th inning, and Shelly Cousins, I think, is going to make another pitching change. So here comes Kennedy Temples, the 3rd pitcher of the inning for Stetson, as Ava Braswell only able to manage 1 out. Served up that 3-run bomb to Reagan Walsh. Florida threatening to really blast this thing open. Home for Florida. Here in this top of the 4th inning, the Hatters scored 4 in the bottom of the 3rd to tie the game. 3-run homer by Dylan Anthony, but Florida drew 3 walks to knock Caitlin Mullen out of the game. 2-run single for Corby Otis on a ground ball that very well could have been at least 1 out, and then an error on the next knock by Erickson. That set up Reagan Walsh for the big hit, a 3-run homer.
Yeah, the game's just sped up, I should say. Speeded up is not a normal English term.
The English language is sped up on Vanessa.
Yeah. The game is sped up on the Hatters a little bit. They lost track of who was on base, who was batting, and the speed of the plays that they needed to make. You know,
this
probably
one hit in the air left field. We'll see if the runner goes home. Cahalan will tag. The throw to the plate would have been on time, but was offline. Goes to the backstop. Cahalan comes in to score the 8th run of the inning, and that gives Florida an 8th run lead on the sac fly by Shoemaker, and the other runners are able to move up as the throw got away from Anthony.
Yeah, actually, I don't think this throw is that off. I just think Dylan tried to make the tag before she gloved the ball.
I think she would have had her.
I think she would have had her, but I think, like I said, I think she kind of lost focus on the catch and started looking for the tag, and the ball just kept going to the backstop.
So Otis, who's been on 3 times, takes a strike. A good out for Temples. Nearly had a double play. Kennedy, the 2nd Temples sister to pitch at Stetson. Her older sister Chloe was dominant here for 2 years. Went on to have 3 more strong seasons at BYU. Now Kennedy in her rookie year. 0-1 is laced to second, right to Sinaraki, and the Hatters are out of the inning. Good job by Kennedy Temples to only allow 1 more run, but Florida gets 8 runs in the frame on just 3 hits. We go on to the bottom of the 4th, 13-5 Gators.
Welcome to the Atlantic Sun, where heart-pounding moments are born and where champions rise above, where speed defies limits and precision finds its mark, where millions of fans nationwide cheer for excellence, determination, and fairness, where public, private, and faith-based schools compete side by side, fostering sportsmanship and unity. From the beaches to the mountains, the Atlantic Sun is the destination.
I was originally in the Discovery program. Stetson gave me the option to explore so many majors, and now I've found my passion and my people.
I could do a lot of things outside of my major, and I never would have known that had this school not set me up with those opportunities.
I'm really happy that I ended up coming to Stetson.
At Watson Realty, we continue to make selling your home easier and safer than ever. Simply contact a Watson Realtor to discuss your goals and determine your home's value. Then we'll market to ideal buyers and arrange for tours that match everyone's comfort level. Best of all, though we've adapted our methods to a new environment, we still offer legendary service and get your home sold. Sell the Watson way. Simple, safe, sold.
Olivia Miller suddenly in line to win this game as she came in after Dylan Anthony knocked out the starter Kara Hammock with a game-tying 3-run home run. Her offense scored 8 runs in the top of the 4th. Top of the Stetson order, Addison Foster, who is 2 for 2. Continuing a tremendous season, a 22-game on-base streak for Foster. She's got her batting average up to 361 with her 2 hits tonight. And hits left-handers pretty well. She's hitting .300 against southpaws this season.
And the Hatters have been a never-say-die team this year. They have come back numerous times, kind of cardiac kid kind of thing. Create a little trouble for yourself.
Well, they did it tonight, down 5-1, and came roaring back against one of the top teams in college softball. Maybe a little
too early to give the final yet. Certainly is a tall mountain to climb at this point. You're going to spot them 8.5 inning.
Foster pops one up right back to the mound, and there is Miller to make the catch.
The line in the tunnel for the Hatters is that the strike zone has been pretty tight. So if they can be disciplined enough to wait for that pitch that comes right down the middle, their chances are better than chasing something out of the zone.
Well, you give up some home runs to this team, you can brush that off. What really killed Stetson in the 4th inning was the walks. There's a line shot straight to short. Nice catch by Holtorf on Cami Epley, who makes a loud second out.
Exactly. It's the plays that you should make and you don't make that kill you. I mean, certainly Florida is going to hit home runs. Florida hits for power. They run. That's no surprise. But I think the Hatters got surprised by the speed of the game and the speed of the Gators in that half inning. I think, out of every ASUN team, I dare say, that ground ball back up to Foster equals an out, if not 2. The ground ball to Sinaraki equals an out, if not 2. And Chumley's been making that play in the 5-6 hole most of the year. So if you take those 3 plays back, you get out of the inning with maybe 1 run.
Chumley floats one out towards shallow left. On comes Otis to make the catch. Here is Erickson, who is 1 for 3, reached on an error and scored her last time at a 2-run homer in the 3rd. Temple's 1-0, catches the letters for a strike.
Of course, we talked about before the game why you schedule this game. Why you schedule an SEC power team to come in midweek at this point of the season. And I think, that Stetson can take a lot out of this game. Of course, for Florida, it's a midweek probable win. Let's just grease the wheels a little bit and keep rolling, maybe get our other pitchers a little bit of innings here. But for the Hatters, I mean, they've put up a 5 spot. That's something to hang your hat on. And even more so, let's learn from those miscues. Let's learn from the speed of the play that we mishandled. What can we take from that, and how can that make us better going into the late season and then potentially postseason?
Going into a big series this weekend against Queens. Stetson has taken care of business against the non-UNF teams in the ASUN this year. They've won both of their series, but with UNF sweeping Stetson 6 out of 6, it has left the Hatters very little margin for error elsewhere. Amazingly, thanks to games like this, we were looking this up before the game, Stetson's RPI is number 2 in the ASUN. There's a little bloop shot towards second. Sinaraki back on it to make the play. And there's 1 out as Erickson is held to just 1 for 4 with a home run.
Just 2 RBIs.
Here is Walsh, who hasn't been held at all. The 3-run homer to blow the game open in the 4th inning. Singled and scored. Her 1 out was a screaming line drive. First pitch from Temple's on the outside corner. Stetson with Queens coming up this weekend. Those games will be right here on ESPN Plus. I'll be back with you on Sunday, Vanessa. Looking forward to it. And the Hatters go to Florida Gulf Coast, a team that is about 500 right now, and that Stetson did well to take 2 out of 3 against back in late March. That should be a fun series in Fort Myers, and then they go to Jacksonville before wrapping up with West Georgia.
Yeah, Fort Myers is always a juggernaut in itself, regardless of the team. It's just it's a different perception on their field, I would say.
What do you mean by that?
And much like UNF, they have the press box directly behind the backstop. There's always a little bit of a depth perception there because there's a reflection off of that glass. So that's different. The grandstands are elevated above the press box. So your crowd is kind of out of the picture, so to speak.
My heart's going out to the announcers having to judge the fly balls.
Yeah.
Oh, from
their dugouts are also really pinched in close. It's like a pass ball almost goes in the dugout. It's just you're kind of right on top of it.
Anthony back for a look at this, but it's off the top of the screen.
Their field has a lake just beyond center field, so there's a little bit of a Gulf Stream effect kind of out there. And their field plays much bigger than the dimensions show. And I think it's a little bit of it's not a lake effect win per se. I don't want to pretend like we're in Chicago or anything, but it's just a little bit of different atmosphere.
1-2 hit out towards shallow right, but Weller back from first to make the play. 2 up, 2 down. Temples, in fact, 4 up, 4 down,
yeah,
for the Hatter rookie here. And an encouraging outing for a pitcher that has come to school, maybe not as polished as her older sister, but she's got that same sort of wicked stuff. And the Hatters are trying to mold her into that top-level pitcher.
She does as all the Hatter pitchers do, but she has a lot of tools to work with. And again, when we talked about earlier, when you come into college, you have to get better. You're not where you need to be. You just have the tools to get there. So that's what coaches bring you in with the potential to get where they want you to be.
Pinch hitting appearance for Layla Lamar here for Florida. Swings and misses at the first pitch. Lamar has not seen a whole lot of playing time in her freshman year out of Cary, North Carolina. Home of one of the great soccer teams in the world, the North Carolina Courage of the National Women's Soccer League. Lamar 4 out of 16 at the plate in her rookie season, 4 RBI. She takes down for ball 1.
Looking at that swing, looking at her as a power hitter.
Is there any other kind in blue and orange?
Well, as we said before, even Falby has home runs.
Yes. Here's a foul ball back to the screen by Lamar. Yeah, coming into the day, Falby would have been tied for the Stetson lead in home runs. Hatters hit 2 tonight, but Florida hit 4, including the huge 3-run shot from Walsh to bust this one open in the top of the 4th inning. 1-2 to Lamar. On the inside corner, strike 3 called.
Well done, well done. Kennedy Temples comes back with that screwball on the inside, ties Layla up.
So Temples with a 1-2-3 top of the 5th. Stetson needs to score to extend the game. With Florida run in the 3rd inning on the 3-run shot by Dylan Anthony. Well, Miller has calmed things down. Gave up a double to Madeline Sinaraki on her first batter, but has since retired 4 in a row. After Kara Hammock got battered by Stetson to the tune of 5 earned on 6 hits and a walk in just 2 2/3 innings.
I think the Hatters came out in that 4th inning after they received the next gator punch, if you will. They came out a little too aggressive at the plate, got out of their rhythm. Oh.
Strike 3 called. That has not been a strike all night. And suddenly it is, as English is sent back to the dugout.
Yeah. Not sure. Salgado just all of a sudden decided he liked low and in.
That was 6 inches inside.
We haven't gotten anything close to that for either pitcher, either team all night. But here in the 5th, I guess he's smelling steak. He's ready to go home.
Weller takes down and away for ball 1. You got quite the way with the phrase, Vanessa. Weller bounced to first her last time, or to the circle, I should say, her last time. She takes outside 2-0. Miller in line for the win here. Try and take her to 4-0 for the season. Weller hits this on the ground to 3rd. There's Cahalan on a hop, 2 away.
Devin just rolls over this. Routine play for Cahalan over there at 3rd. Nice easy toss over. Again, a little bit of a quick swing out of Weller. I mean, I talked about earlier, the Florida hitters go up, they have a pitch in mind to hit. And that's kind of the the difference here really between the Hatters and the Gators is that the Gators are waiting for that pitch that they want to hit, especially with this smaller zone. And of course, arguably in a couple of innings, the Hatters had better success with that. But since Miller has been in the game, they really haven't had her throw enough pitches.
You're right.
To have enough information.
I mean, look, your pitch count pretty reasonable through having retired 6 batters.
So you really haven't gathered enough information to help your teammates behind you.
Now Stetson down to their final strike as McLaren takes one on the outside corner.
I'm not typically hard on umpires, but I do feel that strike zone's a little bit bigger this inning.
1-2. McLaren ropes it foul. We'll do it again.
And I think umpiring, officiating in any manner, whatever each sport calls that officiant, is a no-win situation in every scenario. You're calling it for somebody and against somebody else in every scenario. Your absolute best prognosis is to be unrecognized.
Yes. Yes, the best thing that can happen for you is that nobody knows who you are. And you get to your car okay.
Yeah.
Really is a tough job.
Hopefully that's not seriously an issue.
There's strike 3 called, and down goes McLaren, down go the Hatters. A valiant fight, but an 8-run 4th inning from Florida puts the game away. 2 1/3 scoreless innings out of the bullpen for Olivia Miller. 4 home runs for the Gators. They go to 35-8 ahead of a crucial series in Oxford.